Hi, this is Mark Littleton, the minister of the Word for the Athens Church of Christ, with today's 3-minute sermon. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, beginning in verse 1, the Apostle Paul writes these words. He says, "Now I would remind you, brothers, of the gospel that I preached to you, which you received, in which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures." Paul in that text is talking to us about the gospel. Sometimes in conversation, you'll hear someone say in response to something they agree with, "Now that's the gospel." You probably have heard someone say that. Maybe you're out to eat somewhere with a friend of yours and you say, "Man, that was a delicious hamburger." And they say, "Now that's the gospel." It just means they agree with what you said. It's just some very nebulous, positive statement that's made in agreement with what has just been said. But Paul really tells us the gospel is so much more than that. The gospel is so much more specific than that. Paul says the gospel is the death of Jesus Christ on the cross in our place for our sins. It is his burial in the ground, and it is his resurrection power where he came out of the grave on the third day. And because of his death and burial and resurrection, we can enjoy salvation by the grace of God, by what Jesus has done for us when we come to put our faith and trust in him and follow him. And so, folks, when the next time you hear a statement, "That's the gospel," I hope you'll think of 1 Corinthians 15, verses 1 through 4, and you'll think of what the gospel really is. It's the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus. It is God's power to save anyone. It is God's power to save even you, if you will give your life to Christ. Lord willing, we'll see you again tomorrow for another 3-minute sermon. God bless.